In the heart of summer in the year 1518, in the bustling city of Strasbourg, France, a peculiar event began to unfold. The city's ordinarily mundane rhythm was disrupted when a woman known as Frau Trophia stepped into the streets. Without any discernible reason or melody to guide her, she started to dance. As the sun dipped and rose, so did she, her feet never missing a beat, her vigor never waning. The townsfolk watched, a mixture of confusion and intrigue etched on their faces. This was no ordinary revelry, and Frau Trophea was no ordinary dancer. By the end of the week, this solo performance had transformed into a troupe, with 34 townsfolk succumbing to this inexplicable urge to dance. The spectacle did not stop there. As the days turned into weeks, the number of dancers swelled to over 400. As the numbers grew, so did the bewilderment and concern. Little did they know, this was only the beginning. As days turned into weeks, the dancing didn't stop. The phenomenon had now turned into a plague. This was a pestilence like no other, a contagion of rhythm and movement, spreading through the streets of Strasbourg like wildfire. In the throes of what seemed like a never-ending dance marathon, the participants appeared to be in a state of euphoria, oblivious to the toll it was taking on their bodies. Despite their feet bleeding and bodies aching from the relentless motion, they danced on, as if driven by an unseen force. It was a macabre spectacle, a carnival of the bizarre, with the townsfolk joining the strange procession, one by one. In a puzzling move, the local authorities, instead of trying to halt the inexplicable phenomenon, chose to stoke the fire. They set up a stage in the heart of the city and hired musicians to provide a soundtrack to the frenzy. Perhaps they believed that the dancers would eventually tire themselves out and the madness would cease. But the grim reality of the situation soon unfolded. People began to collapse from sheer exhaustion. The continuous exertion without rest or sustenance proved too much for the human body to bear. The streets of Strasbourg were no longer a stage for an enigmatic dance festival, but had transformed into a scene of exhaustion and despair. Tragically, some didn't merely faint but danced themselves to death. The joy and merriment that once filled the air were replaced with an atmosphere of dread and confusion. Yet even as their fellow dancers fell around them, the remaining participants continued their rhythmic convulsions, seemingly impervious to the unfolding horror. The city, once bustling with life and laughter, was now gripped by a grim dance of death. And the strangest part was that no one knew why. Theories abounded, from mass hysteria to divine punishment. Yet none provided a satisfactory explanation for the bizarre event. In the face of death and exhaustion, the dancing continued relentlessly, and the mystery deepened. The dancing plague of 1518 remains one of history's most perplexing mysteries, a chilling reminder of the power of the unexplained. For an event so bizarre, explanations were sought, but none seemed to fit. Our journey into the dancing plague of 1518 now takes us into the realm of theories and explanations, a labyrinth of speculation and conjecture where facts often blur into fiction. First on our list of theories is mass hysteria and stress-induced psychosis. The 16th century was a time of extreme hardship for the people of Strasbourg. Famine, disease, and harsh living conditions were the order of the day. Some scholars suggest that these stresses manifested as a collective psychological disorder, causing the afflicted to dance uncontrollably. But does this theory explain why the dancing continued for days, even to the point of death? That question remains unanswered. Next up is religious fervor. The Middle Ages were steeped in superstition and religious mysticism. Some believe the dancers were performing a kind of ecstatic ritual, perhaps to appease an angry deity or to purge themselves of sin. But if this were the case, why were there no records of similar events in other deeply religious communities of the time? Lastly, we have the theory of ergot poisoning. Ergot is a fungus that grows on rye and wheat, common grains in the Strasbourg diet. It's known to cause hallucinations and convulsions, symptoms not dissimilar to those exhibited by the dancers. However, ergotism typically causes its victims to lose their ability to move, not to dance ceaselessly for days on end. Each theory holds a piece of the puzzle, but none provides a complete picture. Some scholars advocate for one explanation, others for another, but consensus remains elusive. The dancing plague of 1518, with its curious blend of history, psychology, and biology, continues to baffle and intrigue us. Despite the numerous theories, the dancing plague of 1518 remains one of history's most mysterious events. As we journey further into the past, the dance continues, its rhythm echoing through the centuries, a testament to the enduring mystery of the human mind. As abruptly as it began, the dancing plague came to an end. In the cooling breath of autumn, the frenzy of dance that had gripped the city of Strasbourg for 2 long months started to fade. Dancers, who had been locked in an inexplicable trance, began to slow their movements, their feet finally finding rest on the cobblestone streets. The city itself felt the weight of the strange phenomenon lift, like fog clearing at sunrise, but the aftermath was far from a sigh of relief. The toll of the dancing plague was evident in the weary bodies and minds of the citizens. Families were left grieving for those who had danced to their deaths, and survivors were left with the physical and mental scars of the inexplicable event. The dancing plague left an indelible mark on Strasbourg. It became a part of its history, a tale whispered from generation to generation. The city bore the memory of the dancing mania in its heart, a poignant reminder of the time when joyous dance turned into a relentless nightmare. The dancing plague of 1518 remains a topic of enduring fascination for historians, psychologists, and mystery lovers. Theories have been proposed, from mass hysteria to religious fervor, from ergot poisoning to stress-induced psychosis. Yet, none fully explain the strange occurrence that gripped the city that summer. The dancing plague stands as an enigma, a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit, a mystery that still dances around the edges of our understanding. In the grand scheme of things, the dancing plague serves as a stark reminder of the unfathomable facets of human nature. It's a testament to the mysteries that still remain unsolved, to the riddles that our minds and bodies carry within them. It's a humbling thought, isn't it? That even with all our advancements and knowledge, there are still phenomena that leave us scratching our heads, still mysteries that dance just out of our grasp. The dancing plague of 1518, a mystery that danced its way into history, continues to baffle and intrigue us. A reminder of the unfathomable facets of human nature and the mysteries that still remain unsolved.